when it comes to the NFC North, it's pretty much been the Packers and then everyone else. But for fantasy football purposes, it's important to know coaching tendencies. That's what we're breaking down with SI senior fantasy analyst Michael Fabiano. And Fabs, let's start with the Green Bay Packers because we still don't know if Matt LaFleur is going to have Aaron Rodgers in 2021.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question in Green Bay and from a fantasy perspective as well. Will Rodgers come back, or will he be traded, or will he host Jeopardy? I mean, we're really not sure. But LaFleur, without Aaron Rodgers, has never had a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Remember, he was the OC for the Rams and for the Titans. Jared Goff was the QB 12 in 2017. Marcus Mariota was the QB 24 in 2018. Also, keep in mind that LaFleur has hinted he might give offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett the play calling duties this upcoming season. So keep tabs on that. But if Jordan Love is under center for the Green Bay Packers, obviously everyone is downgraded. Rodgers is an elite player who's going to the Hall of Fame. And so it's no surprise that he's been a top 10 quarterback twice under LaFleur. I guess he'd be a top 10 quarterback under basically anyone. I could probably call the plays and get Rodgers into the top 10. But Jordan Love, if he's the guy, certainly draftable because the talent Green Bay has in that offensive attack. But that's a major downgrade.
All right, let's move over to let's go to the Chicago Bears because Matt Nagy, he's had plenty of chances to make this offense look good, and it has occasionally, not consistently, but occasionally. What do we make of the Bears offense and what Matt Nagy can bring to the table for some of his playmakers this year?
I think one thing that's notable is that his offenses have not produced a reliable number 2 wide receiver, right? He was the OC in Kansas City. They funnel the ball to 2 people, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Now in Chicago, in the first couple of seasons as the head coach there for the Bears, it's been Allen Robinson and no one else really. I mean, Allen Robinson had a wide receiver 8 finish in 2019. He was the wide receiver 9 last season. But unfortunately, no other wide receiver in a Nagy offense with Chicago has finished better than 41st. That was Taylor Gabriel in 2018. So as much as I like Darnell Mooney as a potential deep sleeper in 2021, the trend here with Nagy's number 2 wide receivers has not been good.
All right, let's move over to the Detroit Lions. They have a new coaching staff with Anthony Lynn now coming in as the offensive coordinator. And I think you have some bad news if anyone has DeAndre Swift on their dynasty teams, given Lynn's most recent kind of habits with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, so it's good and it's bad, I guess you could say, right? Lynn's offense has had just 2 running backs with 225 or more touches. But there were a couple of backs who were on pace for far more than that, and they got injured and they didn't meet that total. So overall, Lynn's offenses have produced top 8 finishes among running backs 4 times. He's had 3 top 5s, Austin Eckler in 2019, Melvin Gordon in 2017, LaShawn McCoy in 2016. And he has actually liked to use one main runner when he's had that option on the roster, but just 2 backs have seen more than 225 touches. As I mentioned, last season, DeAndre Swift had 160 touches, and he was still the RB18. So that's pretty good. That means he was pretty successful on a point-per-touch basis. But let's look at the numbers here, right? He averaged fewer than 13 touches a game. And what have we heard during the offseason? Jamal Williams is brought in. He's a classic A-back. And then they brought in Todd Gurley for a visit. That's a bit strange to me. So I do wonder if Swift won't be the top back, but share the workload with Jamal Williams maybe a little more than we projected. In the beginning of the offseason, Bill, Swift was coming off the board in the 2nd round in most of the best ball leagues that I've been in. Now he is a 3rd round pick, and that is primarily because of the rumors and the reports and what Anthony Lynn has said about Jamal Williams.
All right, let's finish up with the Minnesota Vikings. Everyone knows about Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, 2 of the most dominant wide receivers in the NFL. But let's talk about their tight end and how the offensive coordinator's play calling might help Irv Smith Jr. this season.
So we're going to call this the Kubiak offense, right? Because last year it was Gary, the old man, right? The former Super Bowl winning head coach for the Broncos. And now his son Clint takes over. And I'm guessing that Clint is going to mirror a lot of what his dad has done on the offensive side. So last season, neither Irv Smith Jr. nor Kyle Rudolph finished in the top 20 in fantasy points at the tight end position. Although Smith did rank in the top 5 over the last 4 weeks, so he showed some flashes of potential. Rudolph's departure leaves about 37 targets available in the offense, and that could mean that Irv Smith Jr. could potentially break out. Also, keep in mind the Kubiak offense has produced 13 top 12 tight ends. Now, 6 of those were Shannon Sharp, who's one of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game. But Gary Kubiak's offense has also produced top 12 performances from Desmond Clark, Owen Daniels, Dwayne Carswell, and Jeb Putsier. Remember those guys? I think I had every single one of those players on a fantasy team back in the day. So this is good news for Smith. I know we've heard lately that Tyler Conklin could see some more targets as a result of Rudolph's absence. To me, Irv Smith Jr. is far talented, and he's well worth a late-round pick as a tight end, too, who could potentially end up being a top 12 player at the position.
All right, we got plenty more head coaching and offensive coordinator tendencies. It's all up on Sports Illustrated. Michael Fabiano, you did a great job with it. Go check it out, si.com/fantasy.